Hello, everyone. My name is Yomi. Full name is Abayomi Oshutter. I'm Nigerian, 32 years old. I started in tech in 2017.
Okay.
And aside from tech being a passion of mine, I'm a very active soccer and basketball player
Okay.
and an avid trying to get to know church kind of person. Well,
Got you.
trying to get to know God kind of person.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool, man.
so that is a simple version of me.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, honestly, that sounds like a pop the balloon
Yeah.
type of, type of intro, bro.
I don't understand how people go on the show, but
Cool, cool, man. All right. So, what do you do in tech, bro?
what do I do in tech?
Hmm.
So in tech, I started off actually being a database administrator
Okay.
on-prem. So probably about 5 years now, I
Okay.
moved into Azure Cloud,
Okay.
and I've been doing that since then.
Okay.
So
Okay.
everything that I do in tech is all related to Microsoft Azure
Okay.
as the cloud base.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So you're a Azure guy.
Yes.
Have you used AWS and GCP
I
and all
have
that?
not actually.
Okay. Okay.
I've actually tried
Are
practicing with
you
it,
like
but
allergic to that or?
no, it's just I learn more on the job
Gotcha. Gotcha.
than
Makes
actually
sense.
learning by myself. The job allows me to take in the project.
Gotcha.
I know that I have no choice but to do the project, so I
Yeah.
need to find different ways. So that helps me to learn.
Hey, what's up, fam? This is Sar Levy, host of Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. On our episode today, we got my boy Yomi here. Yomi, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well about you.
Awesome, awesome, bro. So Yomi's a friend of my brother, Richard, and he agreed to do the podcast.
Yes.
We've been in contact since late last year, and he's a cloud guy. So,
Yeah.
before we get into all the technicals, I usually just ask, people to tell a little bit about themselves, who they are, non-technical, man, just who
Okay.
you are, where you're from, things
No
like that.
problem.
All right, cool, man.
Okay.
Go ahead, bro.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yomi. Full name is Abayomi Oshutter. I'm Nigerian, 32 years old. I started in tech in 2017.
Okay.
And aside from tech being a passion of mine, I'm a very active soccer and basketball player
Okay.
and an avid trying to get to know church kind of person. Well,
Got you.
trying to get to know God kind of person.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
Cool,
so
man.
that is a simple version of me.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, honestly, that sounds like a pop the balloon
Yeah.
type of intro, bro.
I don't understand how people go on the show, but
Cool, cool, man. All right. So, what do you do in tech, bro?
what do I do in tech?
Hmm.
So in tech, I started off actually being a database administrator
Okay.
on-prem. So probably about 5 years now, I moved
Okay.
into Azure Cloud,
Okay.
and I've been doing that since then.
Okay.
So
Okay.
everything that I do in tech is all related to Microsoft Azure
Okay.
as the cloud base.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So you're a Azure guy.
Yes.
Have you used AWS and GCP
I
and all
have
that?
not actually.
Okay. Okay.
I've actually tried
Are
practicing with
you
it,
like
but
allergic to that or?
no, it's just I learn more on the job
Gotcha. Gotcha.
than
Makes
actually
sense.
learning by myself. The job allows me to take in the project.
Gotcha.
I know that I have no choice but to do the project, so I
Yeah.
need to find different ways. So that helps me to learn.
Gotcha. Dope, man. Um, Before we get into like the nitty gritty of all that other stuff,
Okay.
like, what'd you do in school? Did
What
you
I
go to
do?
school?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yep.
So I got my bachelor's in information technology.
Okay. Okay.
Well, before I actually started doing IT,
Okay.
before I started going into the major for IT,
Okay.
I actually started off trying to do pharmacy,
Okay.
but that did not work
Okay.
out.
All right.
Then moved on into radiology, and
Okay.
I just realized, you know what, the medical field is not for me.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
I feel like by the time you're honest, so there is this class that they ask you to take, anatomy and physiology,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where you have to learn
AMP.
all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bones.
Yeah. Yeah. AMP
And
was
I'm just,
brutal, bro.
and I had to ask myself, what is
Yeah.
the point of me learning all of this?
Yeah.
You know what? This is not for me. And started off, got my bachelor's
Gotcha.
in information technology
Okay.
and my master's degree in cybersecurity.
Gotcha. Cool. Cool. Yeah, because we got similar backgrounds. I did my undergrad in kines and then my master's in cardiopulmonary, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not really fond of blood, so
Yeah.
and I was thinking about being a physician, all the other jazz,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was not going to be the
That's
route.
a lot of years of school too.
Yeah, yeah, man. Cool. So, did you always think about? I mean, you said pharmacy, but
Yes.
did you always think that tech was going to be like a secondary option, or how'd you?
No, I've actually always been very interested in tech.
Okay,
I mean,
okay,
ever since I was young, I got in a lot of trouble for touching things I wasn't supposed to touch.
Okay.
But when you grow up in an African culture,
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
mentality is always doctor,
Yep,
lawyer,
bro. You know it.
or engineering,
Yep, yep.
which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But I believe that most African parents,
yeah,
their focus is for their child to mainly be in the medical field.
for sure.
And that is it, not really understanding that there are other paths
Yeah,
to be successful at.
yeah,
And when you actually think about it, being in the medical field is actually very difficult
yeah,
as going to school and as a career.
yep,
But, it got to the point where I was just like, you know what? You have to make some decisions for yourself.
yeah.
And at the end of the day, they will see the vision.
Was your dad or mom pushing you towards like that
Oh, no,
route or?
well, I'll say this. My mom pushed a lot for medical field,
Okay,
but she was definitely the more open one in
okay.
understanding that there are different ways to be
Yeah,
successful aside from just being in school. I mean, there's nothing wrong with school, of course,
right.
but I believe that you need to also understand where you're trying to go and not just
Yeah,
do something just
yeah,
because you never know. I mean, I guess the average years you're supposed to use in school is 4 years,
yeah.
but there are people who are going to spend more than four
Lifelong.
years. Yeah. And
Yeah,
then all of a sudden
yeah.
you're finding out that they're doing the wrong major.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Imagine, yeah.
yeah,
That's a lot, man.
it
To
is. And
yeah.
that's time's wasted.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are your parents in medical field
Yeah,
or
my mom is.
okay, what does your
Yeah.
mom do?
She works at Grady Hospital.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then your dad?
My dad works for Coca-Cola.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
cool, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense,
Yes.
because typically, like my mom's a nurse too,
Yeah.
and she tried to push me. I won't say push me. She encouraged me to go to the
Yeah.
medical route. But then once I got into tech, I think they started seeing it after like
Yeah.
the after effects of it today. That's
Yeah.
dope,
I
man.
mean, I think it's up to us, the newer generations,
Yeah,
to show them that there is another way. They're very hard headed
yeah, yeah.
about, hey, this is what we want you to do. I am your father. So
Definitely, man.
yeah.
Do you have brothers or
Yeah.
sisters?
I have
Okay,
a brother
okay.
and two sisters.
What do they do?
My brother works as a sales manager for errands,
Okay,
and one of my younger sisters is actually going into tech,
okay,
but
okay,
she was a business analyst
okay.
for a small firm before, but right now she is going to Georgia Tech
Gotcha.
to get a master's in business analytics.
Did you have any hand in that?
Oh
Like,
no,
okay,
she's a
okay,
genius.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, I mean in terms of like business analyst, like, did you have
Oh
hand
no,
into her
no,
going
no,
into
I did
tech?
not.
Okay.
She actually was doing a PhD,
Oh
and
wow,
I believe
dope.
I'm not sure what the major is called,
Okay,
but something dealing with research.
okay.
Yeah, but she found out later on that it wasn't for her.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, the reason I ask is like,
yeah.
siblings often they look up to the older ones to say,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
trust
how
me.
do you like doing what you do?
There was actually
Yeah.
funny enough. So after I finished my school,
Hmm.
got my bachelor's and master's degree,
Yeah,
and my youngest sister this was trying to decide what she wanted to do, go to school for.
gotcha.
My mom actually called me. She told me, "Hey, stop trying to influence your siblings." And I was just like, "What?
Yeah,
You know what? I'm not even going to say anything." But
yeah,
you have to understand, you can't force people
yep,
into something that they're not.
yep,
That's not for them.
yep.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think the new age, like folks, like the younger generation, we're starting to
yeah,
see that there's so many different paths, like from
yes,
content editor to, of course, the tech space. There's many different spaces,
yeah,
but many different lanes rather. But I think we're more open to it, and
yes,
I think the older generation is learning from us.
yeah.
So it's a really good thing, man.
It is
Let me take a quick
no
sip.
problem. I'm gonna finish mine.
So we're drinking Moscato, if anybody's interested. Okay, so my next question then is, when it comes to like, I guess your experience prior to like getting into tech, like now that your database admin, cloud admin, did any of the things that you learned in the past doing whatever, and I didn't even get into like what you were
Yeah.
doing before, did that help with like your career now?
Mm,
So let's start first. Like, what did you do before, like job
before
wise? Yeah,
job
yeah,
wise,
yeah,
okay. Before I actually got into tech,
yeah, yep.
was working at Publix
Okay,
as a grocery clerk.
okay, okay,
Before that, I
yeah,
worked at McDonald's.
okay, So a
So
lot of customer service
yeah, a
where
lot
it's
of
like,
customer
okay,
service. I
okay,
mean, especially when it came to Publix, I mean, it gives you the understanding of actually being nice to people,
yep,
especially with that kind of store.
yeah,
That's what their business model is based upon.
definitely, definitely,
So by the time I even got into tech, especially working with data, it wasn't something that I decided, okay, I'm just going to go into data.
yeah,
But the company that I started working for in tech, Aaron's,
okay,
which they have helped out a lot of people that I know.
okay. Aaron's is the furniture store.
Yeah, the
Okay,
Aaron's furniture store.
nice, nice.
So
Okay,
usually, so the way I started off, because somebody helped me to get into Aaron's,
okay,
you start off as IT support.
okay.
And after 6 months, they allow you to be able to apply to any
That's
departments
dope, man.
within the company.
Yeah,
And probably I probably know about 5 or 6 people who were able to apply to different departments
yeah,
and get a job, get a start off in their career.
yeah.
And I mean, they're
Dude,
all
that's
doing well
awesome.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
awesome.
I
Yeah,
don't think a lot of companies actually,
it's not a lot. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, obviously they're not going to pay a lot,
right,
but honestly, who is caring about money
right,
at that time? A lot of companies won't even hire you if you don't have any experience.
right. Yeah, and to me, I think the fear often with many companies is that you train people too much, they're just gonna up and leave.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, like I'm I have the hardcore belief that if you do right by people, they're
yeah,
gonna stick by your side. Now it's not always the case, but I think if you treat your employees right,
yeah,
people are gonna really um, refer others to errands,
yes,
especially good talent. They're gonna
yeah,
refer them to say, I started as, like you said, IT
yep,
support, and then I moved to DBA
yeah,
admin, and then sky's the limit now for you. So
yeah.
there's not a lot of companies that are willing
No,
to
they won't.
sacrifice that time training you,
Yeah,
and putting in that much effort, and then knowing that there's a possibility you might leave. So
yes.
that's dope, man.
I mean, I definitely feel like it comes in two ways.
Yeah,
There's the giving the opportunity, but I mean, somebody who you give an opportunity to
yeah,
will realize their worth later on.
hmm,
But now the question is, how are you going to actually provide the person's worth to
right.
them?
Are you gonna match? Yeah, yep,
Exactly. But a lot of companies do not. I guess they don't want people to realize. Well, they want people to realize their worth, but they don't want them to fight for their worth,
right,
which is where the money comes
yep,
in, which
yeah,
people are going to leave.
right,
I mean, there was a company that I worked for, Pfizer. Well, maybe I shouldn't say the name, but but I mean, I enjoyed the company,
yeah,
but it got to a point where I realized my worth,
yeah,
and I did a mental future projection
right,
of where I want to be,
right,
and I just realized, if I stay there for too long, I'm just going to stay hindered,
yeah, yeah,
hindered mentally
right,
and hindered financially,
yep,
because I mean, before you at least try to start having a family, you should try to achieve as much as you can
yep,
achieve.
yep,
And it was just starting to feel like, okay, well, I'm just going to get up,
yeah,
do the same thing, know too much of my job. And it's not good to stay stagnant.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a really good point. I think that's the challenge, right? I mean, with companies, it's at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for your company, but
Yes.
also individuals have to do what's best for themselves. So I think, there's that, not necessarily a battle, but there's that compromise there
Yeah.
that maybe some individuals, you may not take the top end. Like, let's say you are able to get paid 250, but you decide to stick at a company that pays you 210,
Yeah.
210,000 it is. But the company treats you really well, package,
Yes.
and the job and things are good. There's no stress, things like that. And I think companies have to be able to look at like other ways they can provide. If financially you can't match,
Yeah.
let's say what Facebook, Amazon, one of these FANG organizations can offer, but there are other things, balances that you can offer as well.
Yeah.
Because we all know making a lot of money doesn't necessarily
It doesn't at
doesn't
all.
mean too much. Like you can make 250, 300K and then like really hate your job.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can have managers that really stress you out,
Yes.
or you can have a manager that is considerate and helps you to kind of progress, and
Yeah.
then you have a nice and easy sort of coasting job, and you're making, let's say, 215, 210 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those things are things that companies need to think about little bit
Yeah.
more. So
Yeah. I mean, I got to a point where I realized that my peace of mind at work
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
actually more important
yeah,
than money,
yeah, yeah,
because that peace of mind,
yeah, yeah,
the way that the way that a bad working environment
Right.
can kill your
Yep.
confidence is something else.
Yeah. No, I'm fully in agreement. I
Yeah.
think what I forget the saying, it was on LinkedIn. They were talking about people don't leave jobs because of the job. They say they leave because of like bad managers or something like that.
Yeah.
Like people literally are what makes jobs really hard, and that's across the
Yes.
board, not just in tech in general. If you have a bad
Yes.
manager, that can kill your company and that can
Yeah.
keep kill your team morale.
Yes.
And I think to me, if you recognize that as a company, you have sort of like the responsibility
Yeah.
to address that. Otherwise, that's going to have its
Just
trickle
one
effect,
thing. Yeah, it is.
So,
And I mean, you may think that you're doing right, but there's always somebody who is
yep,
exactly not feeling what is going on within the company.
yep,
I mean, some people will talk,
yeah,
I
yep,
mean,
yep,
what would you do about that? I mean,
yeah,
there's a glass door right there for
bro.
you.
I'm telling you, yep. And for those who aren't familiar with Glassdoor, basically like you can get like reviews of like how a company is and the culture there, their pay, things like that, and if they're like trash or if they're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Glassdoor literally tells you that.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Did you use
So,
Glassdoor when you were like?
no, I
Okay,
mean, I've never used Glassdoor. I
okay,
mean, the way I see it is, I'm not looking to work for a fan company.
gotcha.
I'm realizing these days that it's probably a curse in a way to work for a fan company with
Okay.
everything that's going
Yeah,
on with
yeah.
the, okay, we don't want you to work remote. We want you to come back in the
Oh yeah,
office,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and with the layoffs with the fan
It's
companies.
crazy.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is crazy.
yep, yeah,
Right now it's just more of a, okay, find a company to work for,
yeah.
interview for them. You
Hmm.
too, you also need to do your own interview
Yep,
to see the people you're working for.
yep.
At the end of the day, I mean, you can't get everything you want.
Right.
You just have to learn from your past experience
Definitely.
and know how to maneuver for your peace of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, that's really honestly the best you can do because it's not easy to just get a new position.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's this lady, and this is no shade or anything like that. She does street interviews, like asking people what they make,
yeah,
and I think for her it's just transparent. I think it's like street salary transparency, something like that. Um, and just asking a lot of people what they make, and usually tech folks, they
yeah,
start throwing out these large numbers. One guy may have said like 500,000, whatever it is, and sometimes people don't believe him. I'll say this now: if anyone is unsure, you can go to levels.fyi. It'll literally tell you what the total compensation at a FANG organization. So Facebook, I think like E7s and above,
yeah,
they get like 1.2 million or something like that. And then other positions, you get like up to 300, 400,000 for like, I think E3, E4, like related,
yeah,
basically like a software engineer that's like level 3 or 4-ish. Um, so while you can make the money, there's a lot of
yeah,
stress with what you're doing.
there is.
And for others, that may be a thing they may be willing to put up with. But I think for folks like us, we're like,
Yeah.
nah, it's not worth it.
No, it's
Yeah,
not. I
yeah.
mean, the work-life balance
Very
is
important, man.
very important. I
Yeah,
mean, I love my job,
yeah.
but I love my life more too.
Yeah, I hear that.
And there are jobs where they let you understand that you do have work-life balance and
Yep,
you need to make sure that you take care of yourself.
yep,
I
yep,
feel like those are very good companies to work for
yep.
just because you get into their mentality of actually understanding the purpose of the company. And you're actually more motivated on what the company is about because they allow you to have a balance for your own life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you want some more, by
Yeah,
the way?
sure.
Yeah. Let me grab that. Got a cool, man. We got our mics a little tight here.
Okay.
Cool, cool. So, all right. We talk about like work life balance and all that other jazz. And I know when you came in, you said you were playing soccer
Hmm.
and whatnot. Have you ever like formed a relationship with like your coworkers that's like outside of work related stuff, like just hanging out with them and
I
whatnot?
try not to.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, that's
I
actually
try
yeah.
not to
Okay,
because you really can't trust coworkers. You really can't.
okay,
Honestly.
okay.
I mean, you can't trust coworkers.
All right.
We understand the kind of things that's going on out here.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you love your career and you know where you're trying to be in life,
Yeah.
the best thing you can do is keep work
Yeah.
at work
Gotcha. Gotcha.
and any kind of friendship
Okay.
relating to any male or female
Yeah.
coworkers,
Gotcha.
just stay out the way
Okay.
because
Okay.
it really is not worth it.
Gotcha.
I mean, the next thing you know, trouble finds you. there's no way they won't fire you.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
will fire you
yeah.
even if there's no problem. So just keep your work life separate. I
Gotcha.
mean, in terms of just having, I guess, just getting different ideas
Hmm.
in terms of tech.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely find a group
yeah,
that you're able to actually have something in common with,
yeah,
and you get ideas from them. I mean, the ideas may not be directed at you,
yeah,
but you will learn something. Like an example is the people who I play soccer with.
yeah.
Most of them are in tech, and the amount of advice that I get from them every single Saturday is just like, wow, I did not know this before.
Gotcha.
And if I had known, I would have maybe been more fast tracked in my IT career. But I mean,
Yeah,
nothing is ever too late,
yeah,
but just to be able to have a group of people that I can always see every weekend,
yeah,
play sports with, sometimes we hang out, and it's not just about sports, but just about, okay, how can we truly level up in life?
yeah,
Because most of these people, they're in their 40s,
yeah, yeah,
but you can't tell. But they have lived life.
yeah,
And someone like me who is still in his young 30s,
yeah,
I mean, I may think I know something,
yeah,
but I start to see now that I really don't know much at all.
yeah,
And I would like to learn more, but which is why you have those kind of groups.
yeah.
Nobody does it alone.
Right.
I mean,
Very true,
there's
bro.
only so much that school will teach you.
Very true.
Okay, good example. School teach you how to code,
Hmm.
right? But then when you get to a job interview, nobody cares what school teach you. They're
Hmm.
like, okay, well, do you actually have work experience? Because that work experience includes dealing with people,
Yeah.
knowing how to prioritize your task or projects,
Hmm.
and making sure that you write the correct emails.
Yeah.
Can you actually do that? Because you cannot be that person that says, well, I'm just going to stay in my own corner and do my own thing. That doesn't work because you have to fit the company culture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about knowing how to write the best code.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree. I agree. All right, cool, man. So, I mean, that's an interesting take, man. I guess my question with that is, let's say you have well, I don't know. Have you ever had a situation where a manager or coworker is like followed you on social media or friend requested you?
No, I don't. But I'm
You've
always
never had
careful.
that situation?
Nope, but I'm
Okay.
careful of that too.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I mean, so if you see my social media,
Yeah.
I don't really post anything. Well,
Gotcha.
I think to myself, okay,
Yeah.
people are going to see what you post online, even
Yep.
if you delete it.
Yep.
There's no way that they will not see anything. And if they want to find out, they will find out.
Yeah.
So if I want to protect myself and
Yeah.
I want to be able to get jobs, I need to make sure that my life is as clean as possible, meaning
Yeah.
no trouble outside of work. Don't just post anything
Yeah.
online
Yeah.
thinking that, I mean, I know that we're in the social media age,
Right.
but what's the point of risking my career
Yeah.
because I want to be on social media? So
Right.
even if they go on my social media, I don't really post anything
Yeah.
that's going to get me in trouble because
Yeah.
I'm very careful of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
smart. That's smart. I think that's a really good point because I think there's this lady that got fired from I think I saw it today, from a
Oh, airport.
airline.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
she
it.
was twerking on an
Yeah.
airline. And I was like,
Yeah.
you can't do that, bro.
No, you
Like, you
can't.
can't do that. You represent she had the uniform on and everything. I'm like, it's different if you have on like your personal gear and you're
Yeah.
not literally in their airline.
Yeah.
Like, like that doesn't make any sense. But I to me, the mixture of personal and professional, like you really
Yeah.
got to be careful there.
Yeah.
There's a
I
fine line
mean,
there.
I think that I feel that people feel too entitled.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
They get to a point
yeah,
where they feel like it is their own company. I was watching a video probably about 2 days ago, and this guy got fired from StubHub,
yeah.
and he was
Oh
a
yeah, the
software
500,000 guy.
engineer.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you
I
start
saw
to
that.
hear
Yeah,
the things that he was complaining
yeah.
about.
Crazy,
Yeah, and I'm just like,
crazy.
you should have just been thankful,
Yep,
stay in your lane,
yep.
that you was able to get a job that
Yeah,
paid you that kind of money,
yeah, yeah,
and just comply,
yeah.
assimilate to
Right.
what the company is trying to achieve.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you're going on your own agenda,
Right,
feeling entitled. It's not your company.
right,
If you have your own ideas, you should start your own company
right,
and run it the way that you want to run it.
right.
But if somebody is paying you for a job, they're paying you to be able to make their purpose a reality. So you can't feel, you should just be thankful that you have a job,
Completely right.
especially with what the world is now, where people are getting fired left and right.
Right. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think I saw a review by I think this guy named Anton Daniels, and he was saying something about
oh, I know what that is.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's saying something about, he basically covered the video and saying
Hmm.
that the only part I disagree with him on it was that you know, that amount of money you're overpaid, because I think oftentimes even when people say like getting paid $500,000,
Yeah.
whether it's total comp or salary, whatever it is, or base, um, you're making, some of these guys are
Yes.
making companies millions and
Yeah.
trillions of dollars. So it's not technically being overpaid,
Overpaid.
because the same thing we say about athletes, right? So
Yeah.
athletes that are making, these teams
Yeah.
billions and trillions of dollars, it's like, yes, they're worth it. People say,
Yeah.
oh, LeBron is overpaid, but LeBron's made
Yeah. It
billions
does.
of dollars
Yeah.
for the organizations he's worked for.
Yeah.
So similarly for
Yeah.
engineer
Yes.
that's built applications that's used globally,
Yeah.
that's bringing in like millions of dollars per month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like they're not overpaid. But what that guy was saying,
Yeah.
that's
I
dumb.
mean,
That's just
yeah.
dumb, bro. Like, if you have certain issues, take it up with the HR privately,
Yes.
not post on social
Your
media about,
media.
yeah, like that's that.
I didn't see where there was
Yeah,
common sense in
yeah.
that.
Like, come on, man. Like, and the fact that you're an engineer, come on, bro. Like,
Yeah.
from
And I
logic
mean,
standpoint,
it
yeah,
talked like somebody who was very intelligent.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wish,
I think it's emotions, bro. I think
yeah.
I think it's emotions. And I think a lot of times, you know, we we let emotions. We're human. I get it.
Yeah.
We let emotions kind of take over, but at that stage, you need somebody in your ear to kind of say,
Yes.
"Bro, chill out."
Yeah. I mean, even
Sorry,
if
sir.
somebody is in your, well, even if somebody's not in your ear, I believe the common sense states you don't take your issues outside.
Yeah, yeah,
You took it past outside into social media.
yeah, yeah.
And I guess in terms of what Antoine, what's his last name again?
Daniels.
Daniel
Yeah,
said, I mean, yeah, it's not being overpaid. The way
yeah,
I saw it was, yeah, it's not being overpaid for his
yeah,
position.
yeah.
But how many people are actually making $500,000 from a
Very
job?
true. Very true.
I
Yep.
don't think that many people are
Yeah,
making $500,000 for a job.
yeah,
So for you to be able to be in that kind of position,
yeah,
you should be more appreciative
yeah,
of it
yep,
because, man, if I'm able to make five hundred thousand
yeah,
dollars for my position,
yeah.
I think I'll be very happy.
Weigh the risk and the reward.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't worth it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, you're talking to somebody who is able to make 500K.
yeah,
It probably doesn't have a family.
yeah.
You could easily save 400K. Well,
With
after
tax, tax.
taxes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
After tax, you can still
yeah,
save a good amount of
yeah,
money,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you wanted to go with your own agenda.
yeah. You know,
No common sense.
I wish you best of luck, my guy. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't remember your name, but I wish you best of luck. But I think, he probably is like a really great engineer.
Yeah.
But I think that was, in my opinion, I don't think that was the best
Yeah.
idea right there, bro.
And just
So
think, he probably already messed up future opportunities
yeah, yeah,
because of the fact that he
exactly.
went online.
Going public with that about your company like
Yeah.
that. Uh, so this is like a warning slash advice for
Yeah.
anybody out there. Like, if you're feeling something about a company, like, one, don't go public with your face and social media handles, all those things.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. That's just not smart. Two, if you're gonna do it anyway, anonymous. Come on, like, go
Yeah.
anonymous and publish that. Don't be that person that publicizes stuff that's gonna get you in trouble, because you're gonna affect not just your current opportunity but your future opportunities as well.
Hmm.
Because like you said, when you post it out there, it's out there.
Yeah.
You may think you've deleted it, but if somebody saves that video, whatever it is, or records that, they decide to post it later, like, it's re-uploaded out there.
Yep.
So
Thousands of times.
yeah, yeah, man.
All of a sudden it's everywhere.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Cool. So let's get into the tech piece a little bit more.
Okay.
So your cloud, do you call, are you a cloud architect, cloud admin, cloud
I call
engineer,
myself a cloud data engineer.
cloud data engineer?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you still work with databases in the cloud a lot more?
Yeah. So I work with SQL Synapse,
Okay.
SQL
Okay.
databases. Well, pretty much everything that has to do with data.
Okay.
So I mean, so right now we work with SQL Synapse, which is more for historical data.
Okay.
We have some SQL databases for the small databases. And then we have some managed instance,
Okay.
which is pretty much like spinning up an on-prem SQL server.
Gotcha.
So now, in terms of moving data around, we move our data around using Azure Data Factory.
Okay.
So in Azure Data Factory, we create pipelines that's able to pull data from APIs or maybe an external vendor's SQL database or SQL server,
Okay.
pull it in, manipulate the data,
Okay.
and provide it for our business intelligence team.
Okay. So it's like an automated process.
Yeah,
Pull,
yeah. I
manipulate,
like
send it
automation.
out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah. Okay. And you've been doing that for how long?
Yeah, I've been doing that. Well, in terms of automation for data, I've been doing that since the beginning of my career in
Okay.
terms of data.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been doing that since the beginning of my career.
Okay.
So, I mean, I definitely believe in automation
Yeah.
just because I see it now as I've gotten more years of experience that I'd rather not touch things
Yeah.
as much. And I'd rather give myself the time to be able to go on vacations.
Yes. Definitely.
And if I want to go on vacations, it means that I need to automate processes.
Right.
Like a good example, I was out last week for 3 days. I didn't have to worry about anything because our processes that we create are all automated.
Very
They all
smart.
have their notifications just in case things don't go well.
Right.
We have notification, which is something we actually just started doing. We have notifications for our connections to make sure that our connections are online
Yep.
before we actually start pulling data. Because one thing I've noticed with vendors is that vendors don't actually try to help out.
Yeah.
They're just there to just provide you data.
Right.
Now, if you miss out on the data,
Yeah.
sometimes you're just not going to catch it.
Gotcha.
And the worst is to be questioned about it later on.
Yeah.
And now you have to explain what happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Um, and automation wise, when you say automation, are you talking more so like scripting, coding, or are you talking more like tools that have automated pipelines?
Tools that have automated pipelines,
Hmm.
which is Azure Data Factory, where you can create automated pipelines,
Okay.
and they also include scripts.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. And then do you write some of these scripts as well?
Yeah.
Um, Talk about that a bit, like, because you said you've been doing automation from like the beginning.
Yeah.
When it comes to like writing scripts, like, because there's this like mystical thing about, writing scripts and stuff. Like, was it difficult for you to learn?
I mean, it's still difficult.
Yeah.
Believe the most important part is actually understanding.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think that you need to be a genius
That's it.
in writing scripts,
Right.
but if you're able to understand what you need to do,
Yep.
understand what is going on, you can really give yourself a day, do your research,
Yep.
and you know what you need to do.
Yep.
So I was brought up on SQL.
Okay.
And no, I don't. Yeah, SQL may look like an easy language to
Yeah.
just write, but honestly, it's not that easy to write.
Right.
Especially when we're talking about getting down to creating store procedures, getting down to creating views. Now, aside from just writing the scripts, now you have to worry about, okay, this is a SQL server. Now you have to worry about CPU time, memory usage, worry about how efficient it's actually running.
Gotcha.
Plus, I have to worry about, okay, we know that other processes or other applications are going to be touching this same SQL server
Gotcha.
for data.
It's like load and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that the performance testing is still there.
Okay.
So, I mean, especially at the beginning of my career, I got in trouble a lot
what,
for
what do you mean?
not being able to actually understand what is going on.
Gotcha. Okay. Hey, Africans and Tech fam, are you serious about getting into the tech space? Because if you are, you'll be asking me a lot more questions. As you have seen on our videos, we got a lot of experts from the different tech domains that can literally answer any and every question that you have in the tech space, including things like promotions, things like getting into the tech space, what it's like being a newbie, what it's like working for managers that you don't like, facing racism, facing other challenges in the tech space. If you have any questions in regards to being in tech space, what it's like, and even working remote globally, feel free to ask us more questions in the comments, or you can send us an email at africansintechnology@gmail.com. Again, it's africansintechnology@gmail.com, or just hit us up on Instagram and then we'll get back to you. All right, fam. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. Like, when it comes to scripting, like,
Yeah.
did you, like, just starting out, somebody that doesn't know how to script, like, what's like a way you would encourage, or that you would say, okay, this is like step by step, like,
And are we
with
talking
scripting?
somebody who is just starting a job?
Yeah, starting out. Let's say they know a little bit about tech, but they want to learn Bash, Python, Go, SQL,
Yeah.
whatever it is. What would you
Yeah, I'll
recommend?
say learn the scripting.
Okay, like how? Like how though?
Ow.
Like how did you do it?
Oh, how did
Yeah,
I do it?
yeah,
So me,
yeah, yep.
I learn best on the job.
Okay.
And when I was on the job, even before I moved into the data team,
Hmm.
on the IT support team that I was on, so probably about five or six of us, we're all always in competition
Okay.
on who can get the most tickets
Gotcha.
completed
Yeah.
and who can get the most tickets completed. And I knew that a lot of these guys, we all went to the same school.
Okay.
So the challenge is there to try to be better in every way. Even before I got the data job,
Yeah.
I actually was. So I did an interview with somebody else who was on the IT support team.
Gotcha.
So the competition was there.
Yeah.
So the competition motivated me. Now, when I went for the interview and they asked me to write a code,
Yeah.
mind you, I took a SQL class
Okay.
back at Chattahoochee.
Gotcha.
But when
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
got there and they asked me to write something, I was like, I'm not understanding how to write a code for this.
Okay.
And that was because I did not understand the business logic,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
which is important. So, yeah,
Right.
be able to write the code,
Yeah.
but also, I guess, try to understand how to understand business logic
Yeah.
and understand what is actually being needed from you.
Like the step by step
Yeah, this
process
well,
for
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, the step by step process.
Yeah.
Because again, I will not say if you sit me down right now and tell me to write code fully.
Yeah.
No, I probably won't be able to just write it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I've tried my best to start understanding business logic,
Yeah.
understand pretty much learn to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Once I have the right questions, I know that okay, I'm the kind of person where I probably need to meet up with the person
Yeah.
who needs this request, probably go to their desk later on,
Yeah.
ask them questions, try to dig into their head to see what they need.
Yeah.
Then I go to by myself,
Yeah.
get to work early in the morning, try to figure it out.
Gotcha.
And that works for me.
Okay.
Now, some people are just straight up, they can
Geniuses.
just write the
Yeah.
code.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe in having people experience.
Yeah.
Once you have people experience, then and you know how to be nice to people, if you have questions, you'll be able to get what you need
Yeah.
and get the request that they ask of you completed.
Yeah.
But know people and know how to deal with them.
Right. So that goes back to kind of like the start of like the customer service standpoint, from McDonald's and
Yeah.
Publix, and then ties back in now with like you asking people like literally help me out by understanding what is it that we're trying to do here,
Yes.
and then once you understand that, you can break it like chunk by chunk.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times like when we try to understand either technology or scripting or some other form of like tech, whatever that is, like we don't think about it in terms of chunks, like breaking it down little by little,
Yeah.
and then tackling that. I think oftentimes we try to tackle like the whole thing, and then
Yes.
that's when it seems really complex.
Yeah.
So for those who are trying to get into the tech space, like if you're trying to learn whether it's getting into cybersecurity, cloud ops, DevOps, database stuff, like try to understand like what first of all you need to achieve
Yes.
whatever it is that you're learning, and then from there break down one application, one module, one system at a time,
Yeah.
and then go from there. I think that's typically the easiest way to
Yeah,
kind of
it is.
run through that.
Yeah. I
So
mean, back when I first started in tech, I used to have to write PowerShell scripts.
yeah.
And I used to have this mentality that, okay, when I write my PowerShell code, it must all be in one
One large,
execution.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
then I understood later on that no, you should not be writing your codes like that.
Yeah.
Write it in chunks,
Yeah.
have an if clause,
Yeah.
an if statement,
Yeah.
so that if anybody needs to change something later on, they
Right.
don't need to change their whole code.
Right.
They just change a step,
Yeah.
and that's more efficient than having to now
Yeah.
now I have to write
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
code all over
Yeah.
again
Yeah.
because somebody decided that they didn't want to put it in a step by step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's smart, man.
Yeah.
That's smart. Cool. We're getting ready to wrap up. So I got a couple more questions.
Mhm.
I guess what do you find difficult about being in tech?
What do I find difficult? One thing I'm definitely starting to find difficult is truly understanding the future of tech,
Okay.
especially when it comes to AI.
AI. Okay.
And when I think about that, I'm starting to ask myself, how long is this going to last for?
Okay.
Because AI can, based on what I've seen, I'm not going to say it's perfect, but AI can pretty much do a lot of work that people are doing.
Mhm.
And I do not want to price myself out.
Gotcha.
I don't want to get to a point where I'm having to think, oh, well, I can't be a data engineer anymore because AI is doing this. So right now, I'm thinking to myself, what is the next best step? I think that, well, me personally, I'm thinking to myself, I love my job, but because AI can take my job, I really need to start thinking to myself, what is the next best step for me in terms of job?
Yeah.
Which is, trying to build something. I mean, building something does not have to be now. I mean, let's say most businesses fail the first year,
Yeah.
but at least trying to find another route for yourself. Because, I mean, I don't think that you should think for to yourself that a job is the end all be all. And I say that very limitedly because most people, when they think of a job, they think to themselves, oh, I'm going to retire, pension.
Right.
I don't think most young people are thinking like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
but working in a agency, that's how most people actually really think. Oh, well, I'm going to get a pension. I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
And from what there are a lot of places where there's not really room to grow.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not really understand that, wow, AI can really take your job.
Yep. Yeah.
With the things that AI can actually do,
Yeah.
it can take your job.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it would take long for us to get to that point. So I believe now we're starting to go back into the old age mentality of, I think it's called blue collar jobs, where people are
Yeah.
plumbers, electricians. I believe that we're probably going back to that. Well, I'm not going to say we,
Okay.
but I believe that those roles are again so going to start becoming more important because those are roles that you really cannot price them out.
Gotcha.
They're always going to be there because
The
I mean,
hands-on piece.
yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
for IT now, I believe, man, you really need to have some very special skills
Yeah.
for you to last a long time.
Yeah. So I guess with that, I had a guest maybe like a couple months back. Jay. She's a manager at Google, and we're talking about kind of what you're talking about with AI. Um, my I guess sort of like take on AI is there's still a lot of like things that you have to train
Yes.
your model on, right? So I do agree that eventually it's going to start replacing a lot of like the menial tech jobs, like stuff that we're, you know, I'll say from an analyst standpoint,
Yeah.
like analyzing like if the IP is,
Question.
yeah, sure.
Is it going to replace tech job first or regular jobs?
So
Accounting.
I think it depends on what the job is really. To me, like so like analysts, for instance, analysts do like a lot of jobs that are and
When you
don't
say
shoot me out there,
analysts,
analysts, huh?
what kind of analyst?
I would say like let's say financial analyst,
Okay.
yeah, or even like possibly a cybersecurity analyst. Depends on what you're doing. If you are just responsible for looking at threats and then trying to see if it's malicious or not,
Yeah.
you can build
Model.
models around that. Like
Yeah.
that's not really that difficult to do. And I say not difficult because I don't do it, so don't shoot me. But similar with like financial analysis, if you're just analyzing financial data,
Yeah.
and there machine learning can do a
Easily.
lot of that stuff. You don't need AI for that. You
Easily.
can do machine learning for some of that stuff. So like things like that are easily replaceable. And then also like from a, I don't know if it's called a blue collar or not, maybe not. Like folks who do taxes, like QuickBooks, things like that,
Yeah.
bro. That
Is
gone,
it done?
yeah,
Yeah.
gone. Like I think it was a few years back where they talked about like the amount of like, um, uh, not what do you call those folks that do taxes? Not CPAs, but maybe CPAs, but CPAs and a combination of them and like folks that do like QuickBooks and things like that,
Yeah.
like 50% of jobs got replaced at one company because they just used AI to
Yeah.
do not AI, they did a machine um, learning tool that basically replaced what they were doing
Yeah.
because it's numbers. I
Yes.
mean, if you're talking numbers, computers can do numbers better than
Easily.
people, much easier.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of like if your job is something where a model can easily be built around, whether
Yeah.
it's in the tech space, in medical field,
Yeah.
in blue collar related work, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if your job is easily replaceable. They can build models around that. Like
Yeah.
you gotta up your skill
You really
level.
do.
Yeah. So
Well, I guess you call it repetitive work.
yeah, yeah, yep,
Jobs
yep.
that
You can automate.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it doesn't require actual skill to be
yeah.
able to complete the job.
Right.
I think so when I first started in IT there my CEO Dan said we like people who automate
Yeah.
because automation well, I guess they used to say that, well, people who are lazy are always looking for the best way to finish, make sure that they don't have to touch
Yep.
the same thing too many times,
Yep.
which is automation.
Right.
And while you're automating because, well, I'm doing the same thing over
Yep.
and over and
Yep.
over again.
Yeah.
I don't need to be doing the same thing over and
Right.
over again when I can focus on the other things.
Exactly.
So you automate accounting, just like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
CPA,
Yep.
taxes.
Yep.
What else? I mean, there's so many jobs that you can easily automate
Yes.
that
Yep.
just like what
Yeah.
is the future going to turn into?
Yeah.
And just look at what AI has done in I think 2 years
Yeah.
and it's still learning.
Yeah. 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 It's scary for I think many people because
Yeah.
it's a reality that they're living in. And now, I don't know if you saw or heard about the clip in Africa. I don't know what country it was, but they were basically having some, I think, farm workers train the AI model so that it can do farming and other things, but they were paying them like I don't know if it was like $12 or something. It was basically like some really
Yeah.
low pay. It might have even been like $2 or
Can you
something.
blame them?
Yeah. Well, yes. To me, it's like there's I forget what they talk about in I think it's like um, AI with like some emotional intelligence things. I forget.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but basically, it's like basically telling folks who are building these models to build it with some sort of like um, human uh, thoughtfulness when it comes to like what your model is doing.
Yeah.
So something that's fair, something that's not necessarily taking advantage of like individuals,
Yeah.
and then something that's also not biased. So they talk about certain models that are racist.
Yeah.
They
Sure.
talk about certain models that are stereotyping
Yeah.
certain individuals. So those are things that because you're training it based upon whatever
Yes.
the user inputs there, right?
Yeah.
So it's things like that where I think you have to hold these companies accountable. Otherwise, you can have something that could be very disastrous.
Yeah.
People talk about like
Yeah.
Terminator and all that other
Yeah.
stuff, but
Did you watch iRobot?
yeah,
Where
yeah,
they had
yeah,
to,
yeah,
I believe they had to come up with the three laws of AI, which
yeah,
is for the robots,
yeah,
where it must be followed whenever a robot is built, or
yeah,
else the destruction of the world.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
All of a sudden, now you have robots
yeah,
actually thinking like
yeah,
humans,
yeah,
and you start to think to yourself, if I was a robot, AI,
yeah.
and I think of humans, and I think of the history of humans, would you destroy humans or not?
The sentience, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
same. You probably
yeah,
would,
yeah,
and just like that's not the future that we want.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think there's a movie. Well, there's several movies about
yeah,
it.
there's a
I
lot.
think I think it's Mother. I think
Yeah,
it is.
Mother.
Yeah,
That was
Mother
good.
was. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that was
that was
good.
actually a really good movie. If you
Yeah,
guys ever watched that, it's a really good movie. And basically, like a lot of what AI at the end of the day, a lot of these models and robots that they build out there, their conclusions like humans are bad. Let's kill them
hmm
all. So that's not far fetched with
it's
even the
not.
way certain humans think. So
Yeah,
it's it's not at all far fetched if somebody builds certain models that are out there to learn and grow,
yeah.
and then get to a point where it's like, hey, you know, humans might not be useful after all. So let's, not to scare anybody, but
I
it
mean,
is
but you
something
have
that,
to see the
yeah,
reality,
yeah,
of it. I
yeah,
mean, it's the emotions that keep the emotions give us hope.
yeah,
But when you think about the logical part,
yeah,
which AI is probably going to use that first to think,
yeah,
it's just like, wow,
yeah. Scary, right?
it's scary.
All right, man. So last question then. Based on this,
Yes.
next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Next 5 years, where do I see myself? I'm already getting to the point now where I feel that, okay, what can I build for myself
Okay.
aside from work? Now, that is still important too, but the only levels when it comes to that is making more money and actually being able to take a leadership role.
Okay.
How that is going to come, I don't know yet, but we'll figure that out by God's grace.
Okay. Okay.
But definitely, I want to start looking into more areas
Okay.
that does not require tech to be my only income.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So different, income streams.
yeah, different income streams.
Okay.
Definitely, I, you can get ideas from YouTube,
Okay.
but I believe a lot of people don't really share. Okay, well, this is how I got here. I was talking to somebody yesterday at do you know Niger Cuisine? Is
No.
that so? It's an African restaurant in Austell,
Okay.
and the guy told me how he came into the U.S. He started out doing nursing.
Okay.
All of a sudden, it's he had people who were able to guide him when he came to the United States.
Yeah.
2 years in, got his first house.
Yeah.
Some more years in, started investing lands in Nigeria. Now he has multiple businesses.
Nice. Nice, man.
You know, but his idea when he first came in, he actually started out being a nurse. Was that, oh well, oh nursing, nurses make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I'm there,
Yeah.
job.
Right.
But nurses work a lot.
Right.
They do a job that is not easy.
Yeah.
That it takes a different type of mentality to be able to just sit there and actually deal with people.
Yeah.
But is that really the future that I want for myself, to just
Yeah.
stay at work? No, it's not.
Right.
But you have to be thankful at the end of the day, because it's easy to be not thankful and think to yourself, well, I'm better. Nobody's better than anything.
Right.
But yeah, more income streams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point, man. I mean, even to the degree of like for our guests who are watching, folks who are looking to get into tech space or folks who are in the tech space, like I think next level of like, what do you do with all the money that you're making now? There's a lot of content out there that talks about not being so much consumers but producers.
Yeah.
Like, you got to figure out ways to make passive income. Like, your job is not guaranteed.
Nope.
Your company can fold in a jiff.
Yeah.
You just need one tweet from Musk
Yes.
for things to go sideways. But yeah, it's really important to think
Yeah.
about like diversifying like your income streams. And I think what you just said there just highlights that. So
Yeah.
dope, man. Well, Yomi, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being part of the podcast, man. If people want to get in touch with you, what's like a way they can contact you, whether email? I know you say you keep yourself private, but if they
No,
like,
look,
hey, I need to have this guy instruct me in
no
XYZ.
problem. No, my social media is open. I just don't, I'm very
Yeah,
careful. But
gotcha.
yeah, my social media is Abayomi4294,
Okay,
which is spelled ABAYOMI 4294.
okay,
Yeah, and
dope,
that's it.
dope, man. All right,
Yeah,
and then
thank you.
we'll have Yomi's contact information at
Yes.
the bottom of this stream. So whether it's on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, we'll have his information there as well. But if you have any questions for either us or Yomi, feel free to hit us up at africansintechnology@gmail.com. Again, it's africansintechnology@gmail.com. My name is Sar Levy, and this is Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. All right, fam? Hey, what up, fam? This is Sar Levy, host of Africans in Tech, where we're building bridges and shaping futures in tech. Just a quick reminder for those who've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. You can catch all of our content, including our whiteboard sessions, where you'll find our full-length videos on our channel. And hit that notification bell, fam. All right?